Hello everyone, welcome back for the game 12 of the World Championship match between Grandmaster Liren from China and Gukesh from India. In game 11, Gukesh beats Ding with the white pieces. Now it has Ding's turns to get the white pieces. So let's see whether Ding's able to beat Gukesh and equalize the score or not. In the last time when he plays against Nepo, he was in the same situation and he came back in the game 12. So let's see what happens now. Dings opens with the c4. Gukesh responds with e6. You can also play e5, but e6 is also okay. And now g3, d5, bishop to g2, and now simply knight f6, knight f3, d5, a principal move, and just simply castle, knight c6, and just simply e3. Okay. If you take this pawn, white can take back with this pawn, and white has a huge center, so Gukesh doesn't born yesterday. So he does not capture, he plays bishop to e7, and now d3. Now you can capture the pawn, because it's not that strong. Now just simply pawn takes pawn, bishop takes pawn, and now e5, and just simply knight c3. In case of e5, knight capture the pawn, so black cannot push the pawn e5, and now simply castle, rook to e1. After this move, Gukesh thinks about 15 minutes and he plays s6. s6 is a slow move. The main idea is to play s6 is to stop knight g5 in case of bishop to e6, and also it stops knight to g6. So taking control of the g5 square, and now just simply Ding does the same, but on the queen side he plays a3. The whole idea of the a3 is you can play b4. Also you stop knight b5 and bishop to b4. And now Gukesh plays a5. The idea of the a5 is to stop b4. And now simply h3. Ding is very happy in the press conference when he asked about this move. He says, okay, I was very uncomfortable when if knight comes to the g4, then knight attacks his bishop, then bishop has to come back to the c1, and he was not sure in this position whether he is better or not. So he plays this passive moves, one on the king side and other on the queen side. So just black pieces are simply restricted, they doesn't have squares. So now bishop to e6 is played, a top engine move found by the Gukesh. Now just simply king to h2 in case of queen to d2, protecting the pawn, and also this d3 is a weak. So if this and this both are weakness, then black can place rook to d8 and he just simply attack this pawn after bishop to f5. So Dings technically covers the one weakness, and now rook to b1 is played. The idea of the rook to b1 is that after capturing the d3, white can play queen to b3. After capture this, white can capture b7 pawn, and now simply queen to c2. Ding is very happy after this move. I was watching the live stream. The Peterliko is telling about the move knight to d4. Now you have to capture this knight with the bishop. Pawn takes bishop, and now knight to b5. And now engine is suggesting c5, but after bishop to c5, which is a more human way to play this position, as this can be weakness. After pushing this pawn, so c6 can be played in the future. So there is a very funny line here, rook to the e5, and now you attack the bishop. Okay, let's say you protect the bishop and attack the rook, and now simply rook to h5 can be played, and this is very shaky, as if you play queen to f6, now just simply knight takes pawn. So this is very tricky position. So instead, Gukesh choose to play, instead of knight to d4, he choose rook to e8. And now Ding plays knight to b5. The idea of knight to b5 is to prevent knight to d4. And in this game, Ding does not want to simply give a Gukesh activity or a simple moves. He wanted to press advantage as a white, and white position is simply better. For engine, it is it can be holdable. Well, for human, it is extremely difficult to hold. The Grandmaster Vishwanathan Anand, after say the 15 moves, that it is very difficult for Gukesh to hold the game to the Anish Giri on a phone call, which is tell by Grandmaster Anish Giri on a live stream on Chess 24. And now, what black can plays here? So he plays bishop to f5, more human way to play the game, as Indian is suggesting the bishop to e6. Okay, but now Gukesh plays the human way, bishop to f5, targeting was now targeting d3 pawn, and now D moves is simple. You just have to play rook a to d1. You protect the pawn here, and now simply knight to d7, preparing knight to c5, or also bishop to f6. Black pieces are fighting for this square, as simply there is not a single square on a chessboard that black can move freely and effortlessly. This is the main idea of the dig place today. And now queen to d2 is played, targeting this, or in future targeting this. So bishop to g6 is played. Here it is a very funny line. Instead of bishop to g6, you can play knight to c5, and after knight to c5 you have to play d4, and now just simply knight to d3. After knight to d3, you have to take the pawn with your knight, and you have to sacrifice the exchange, and this is better for white. Maybe the Gukesh doesn't like this position, so it doesn't go for this, but this is okay for black, but it's very difficult to play as a black. So Gukesh chooses to play bishop to g6. Now after bishop to g6, Ding plays d4. Here Gukesh plays e4. Okay, the reason he has not captured this pawn, because after e takes d4, white is simply winning, and I am going to show how. Now bishop to f4. Spaghettio, and now as per Hikaru says, and now how could you defend this? Let's say you play d3, knight takes pawn, and just simply rook f8, and now knight to d5, rook to c8, as the bishop is hitting the rook, and just simply b4, pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn, and just simply knight b6, and just you takes, and c5, knight to c4, queen to c3, b5, knight to e5, knight to d4. You have to give up your bishop for your knight. Queen takes bishop, knight takes bishop, pawn takes knight, and just sorry, this is not the move. You have to play rook to e7, and now white is simply winning here. So Gukesh plays e4, as he sees all this. He's a super GM, of course you can see this. And now knight to g1 is played. Here knight to b6, attacking the pawn on the c4, as black has nothing more. So Gukesh moves this, and just simply queen to c3, protecting this pawn. And now bishop to f6, hitting the pawn, and also x-raying the queen indirectly. And now queen to c2. Ding is very happy that he sees queen to c2, as after queen to b3, there is a4, queen to c2, and queen to d2, and queen to d7, and this is equal for black, as black get his move with the tempo, and white is a one move short to maintain his advantage, as happened in the last game where Ding plays the g6. So instead, Ding is very happy that he found, sorry, not this, that queen to c2. Now Gukesh plays the a4. This same move is played, but it doesn't come with the tempo on the queen, so white has one extra move here, and knight to e2 is played. And now bishop to g5, final mistake of the game. Now knight to f4 is played, and now this is completely winning for Ding, whatever Gukesh plays. This is simply, and I'm going to show, okay, Gukesh plays bishop takes knight, and bishop takes bishop, and rook c8, but instead, okay, let's say what happen if we place bishop to s7. Now you have to play c5, knight to d7, or you can play knight to d5, takes queen takes knight, and just simply better, as this is coming. So instead, Gukesh captured the knight here and just takes and just plays rook to c8, protecting the pawn. And now queen to c3 is played, preventing any e3 with the queen on the c2. So knight to b8 is played. Okay, black doesn't have move here, so Gukesh plays knight to b8 as the Dink is going to play this. So Gukesh doesn't want this move with the tempo, but Dink says, okay, I'm going to play it anyway because this is the perfect. Okay, here is a very interesting idea in the press conference. Here Dink can play knight a7 and wins the exchange knight, rook. But when this question asked to Dink in the press conference, he simply says that he does not see here knight to a7, and according to engine, instead of knight to a7, this d5 move is very strong. Maybe it's fortunate for Dink. And now queen to d7 is played. Now the d6. Okay, here is a very interesting line. Instead of, okay, now it's just simply queen to d7 is played, and now just simply you have to hit this pawn. Okay, you cannot take this pawn. If you take this pawn, knight takes pawn, you lose an exchange. So Gukesh tries to c5. The idea of the c5, so he wanted to play knight to c6, as this knight can control the squaring square of this pawn. So now the knight to c7 is played, hitting the rook, so rook moves. And now just simply bishop takes a4, Dink wins a pawn here. And now knight to c6 is played as tail in the game. And now just simply bishop to g2, extremely calm move by Dink. And now rook to d8 is played, trying to pressuring this pawn. Here Dink plays knight to d5 back. Dink is playing extremely like a supercomputer here. He has at one point he has a 99% accuracy. It's just simply insane that he plays this game like this. Now knight takes knight is done, and now just simply pawn takes knight. This knight has to move, which is an extremely strong knight here, which is covering the squaring square of the pawn. And now knight to b8 is played, as knight doesn't have any move. Now just simply queen takes pawn. Gukesh, Dink wins another pawn, so he's technically 2 pawns up right now. And now you have to, okay, now the rook to c8 is played, hitting the queen, and just simply going to d4, another calm move. And now just knight to a6, developing a knight to better square. And now just simply rook to d7 is played, queen to the b5, hitting this pawn and also preparing. So now simply d7. Now Gukesh attacks the Dink's queen. Here is a very interesting line here. You can also capture the rook here. Queen takes queen, and just simply rook to d8. After the queen to c5, you just make the queen and wins the game. This is a very stylish way to win the game. But Dink says, okay, I already lost the last game, and I does not want to give any chance. There will be no tactics. There will be no funny way. I wanted to win this game simply by a simple move. So he plays queen to e3, a simple but move. And now rook to c2 is played, trying to win this pawn. But okay, Dink doesn't care. So he plays bishop to d6, x-ray on the rook. In case of the rook moves, if queen takes pawn, okay, I'm going to show you this. Okay, now let's say black capture this pawn, and now just simply rook to d8, queen takes pawn. That's it. You can come back here. So instead, Gukesh plays f6. Now the game is completely winning for Dink. You can pause the video and try to find a move which Dink Liren plays instantly and win the game for world champion Dink Liren. Okay, the move here is to rook takes pawn. The idea is the rook takes pawn is winning, because after king takes rook, you have to capture the rook with the bishop. Now king takes bishop, you make the queen. Queen blocks the check, and now queen takes pawn. Queen blocks again, and just simply queen to h6 check. King to e8, now check again. Now just simply queen has to block it and just simply takes the queen. And now after king to d7, just simple queen to d8. It's a checkmate. So guys, this is a very extremely complex game. and it's a very complex game. When I was watching the live stream, both Anish Giri and Peter Liko was trying to find a move for the black, but they aren't simply finding the moves. As okay, if the computer is playing against Ding Liren, he might be survive this or even win this. But for human, it is extremely difficult to hold this. And now only 2 games left of the World Championship of the classical game. Now tomorrow is a rest day, and now then Gukesh will have the white pieces, and the last game Ding has the white pieces. So it is very interesting to see whether they both play safe and make 2 draws and go into the rapid tie breaks, or Gukesh wanted to hit Ding and win the game and having the advantage in the last game. So Ding has a must-win situation. Or if Ding wins tomorrow, then Gukesh has to win the 14th game and make the game to the classical, rapid tie breaks. The World Championship match has come to an extremely, seesaw. First game Ding wins, third game Gukesh wins, and now the game 11 win by the Gukesh and game 12 win by the Ding. They just exchanging the blows like heavyweight fighters. They both are the extremely strong players, but only one can become the world champion. Okay, Ding is already world champion, so he regain his world title championship, or Gukesh can win this by defeating Ding. So I'm very excited to see the game 13 and 14. So okay, we will meet you in the next game's analysis. Thank you guys.